Welcome everyone that are joining live and by recorded video to this month's Let's Talk Solutions, where we're going to focus on how you can be a superstar Foundation Cloud Community Portal admin. So a couple of housekeeping items. We will be recording today's presentation, and you'll be able to find this and previous recordings on NPAC's knowledge base. Also, if you have questions during the presentation, please use the Q&A function at the bottom of your Zoom screen. We have Veronica Garcia from our support manager monitoring the questions. And if needed, we'll make time at the end to discuss some of them. Today, you will be hearing from Jeff Armstrong, our Chief Innovation Officer, who will be leading today's training. So let's quick look at our agenda. So today we're going to focus on really managing your community portal and your portal users, overview of menu items and features and roles, how to edit and personalize your help content for your organization, publishing reports, managing your news feeds, and really review some of the underutilized features that we love and that are so important for your organization. We will have time at the end, but please feel free to enter your questions in our Q&A functionality within Zoom. So with that, I think I'm going to hand it over to Jeff to take it away.
All right, thank you, Amy. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen if I can. Screen 3. And I'm going to go ahead and turn off my camera for now. My son is homesick with me today, so he is taking some of our bandwidth on our internet access here at the house. So I'm going to go ahead and turn off my camera just to make sure that there are no glitches as we work through today's topics here. So Amy, real quickly, can we see my screen here?
Yep.
I'm looking at
Yes, I can. Yep. The sample foundation.
Very good, sample foundation. All right, so as Amy said, we've got a lot to cover today. So if I'm moving too fast, my apologies in advance here. Y'all feel free to enter in your questions in Q&A. Veronica and Amy can answer those in writing if they've got quick answers, or I'll come up for air from time to time here as we go to make sure that we've answered questions as we go along. So the first thing we want to cover here is managing your portal and your portal users, right? I've logged in here with an account that's got access to all of the different portal roles turned on. I'm an administrator in our sample site here. You'll notice we've got a site admin, which we'll be talking about in great detail today. I want to first start here with the user admin portal, and this is where we manage our users. We can take a look at their sessions. If a user is locked out because they entered an incorrect password too many times, etc., we can clean that up. So here we are in manage web users, and then let's take a look at each of the options that we've got here on this little ellipsis menu here, the context menu on the left. For each user, we can view their details, see who they are and what roles they have access to. A lot of this is available here in the grid, so you may be able to avoid using this if you just look in detail at the grid, but here's their contact information for this particular web user. Remember that each web user is linked back to a constituent record in Foundation Cloud, right? This user has a bunch of the roles selected, and so we'll take a look. All of these roles are approved for this user. This isn't typical. Let's find one that is typical. Here's an individual applicant. Perhaps this is a person who is applying for maybe disaster relief or for an employee hardship assistance grant, that sort of thing. This is a user who has been approved for this role. If you want to add an additional role to this user, you can do so really easily here. And just say we want this to also be a scholarship applicant, for example. And then as we add that, we can then make them approved or pending, so that perhaps someone in the Foundation Cloud grants system can go in and do some additional processing, or we can just make them approved immediately. But we can manage their roles here. We can also take a look at their, we can set a temporary password for them. Perhaps they've been locked out because they've entered the wrong password too many times. There is a setting here for changing the website. This is a relatively underutilized feature in the portal, but you can have multiple what we call skins or brands in your website. We've got a couple of Canadian foundations who have both English and French versions of their portal. We have a couple of private religious foundations that have separate portals for their different types of applicants. Perhaps, some of them are one religious denomination, one or another, and they have completely different looks and feels for those. So if you want to change the default website for a user, they can do that themselves in the My Account settings. You can also do this in Foundation Cloud Grants, but you could say, this one is going to be a French user and not a default English user here. So you can set those from those settings here. And then finally, you can clear their page settings. And this is a good tool to use for situations where a fund holder is experiencing, or any portal user for that matter, is experiencing some sort of a problem in the portal. You're troubleshooting for them. Maybe they've got some of their grid settings such that they can't see their records and they can't figure out how to clear their filters. And maybe you just want to reset everything for them and put them back to square one. And this clear user page settings option gives you a great opportunity to handle that. These are things you can do as an administrator in the portal to manage your web users. If you want to invite users or even manage them from Foundation Cloud Grants, you can do so as well. I'll real quickly jump over to FCG and show you a couple things here in our Foundation Cloud Grants system. For one, if we go to a constituent user that happens to be a web user, we'll see a web user tile here. And on this web user tile, you can see the organizations with which this web user is associated. Generally speaking, this is just going to be one organization account, but you may have agents, grant writing agents who are applying for grants on behalf of multiple organizations. And so they may have access to multiple orgs that they can switch from. And so you can manage these here by adding a new organization or deleting the relationship to an existing org. And you can also manage their roles here. This particular user has rights to all of the roles. This is just a test account, but you can remove some of these. You can change their status from approved back to pending or denied for any particular role you want to. So this can be done through Foundation Cloud Grants. And then, of course, you can add new web users. So if I've got a constituent that doesn't yet have a web user account, I wonder if Jill's got one. We go down and see she does have a web user account. If we find one that doesn't have a web user account, you'll see a button here that says create web user. And that'll give you the option to create a new web user account for this user. But we find that it's a lot easier in batch. And so here on the online apps menu, you've got the web processing queue. This is your screen where you manage users who have made changes in the portal and for whom you want to update your constituent records. Where perhaps Barbara Waltman said, here's my new mailing address, or here's my new email address, etc. And you can update your constituent records. You can even push those changes through to your CRM system to update that as well. But one of the powerful features here that is often underutilized in the web processing queue, you can take a look at all of the web users, and then from here you can add new web users, and this is a batch function. So we'll just take a minute and talk through this. This is a feature that our implementation team uses relatively often as they're setting up a new customer. You may have constituent records for fund holders which have relationships to funds, but which don't yet have portal accounts. And you may just want to say, okay, let's go for our recipient applicant advisor. Let's look at our fund advisors and let's assign them this fund holder / donor role in the portal. And these are all the constituents which are advisors which don't have web user accounts yet, right? And so we've got, looks like 4 pages worth, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 times however many pages this is. So we've got all these accounts that have web users. If I select a couple of these, I could then, just really quickly create new web user accounts for these folks. This one doesn't have an email address, so this one's going to fail, but this one does, and so this one should succeed. And just clicking add here should create 2 new web user records, and it will assign 1 role to each of these web user records. And as we do so, I imagine one's going to succeed and one may fail because this one doesn't have an email address. But If you've got fund holder constituents which don't yet have web user accounts, this is a great way to identify them and create them in batch. And when you set up these web user accounts, they're going to get a temporary password. Their web user account will be in a temporary state. And then we can run over to our queries screen here in Foundation Cloud Grants. And out of the box, you should have a query here that is called Web Users with Temporary Passwords, Donors. So these are your web users that you've just assigned with this tool. You should then be able to come in and open this and then do, looks like mine may have a syntax error in my query. But you should be able to do a new batch correspondence for all of these web users and send them an email, which says something to the effect of, hi, fund holder, we've just registered you with a new account on our portal. Here's your user ID, here's your temporary password. Click here to log in and change your password and have fun in the new portal. So this is a great, easy way to do registration of web users in batch by role. So lots of functions here for administering your web users, if they're locked out, for unlocking their accounts, etc. Before I move on, I'm going to go ahead and come up for air here. So Veronica and Amy, do we have any questions?
No, not yet, Jeff.
Okay, very good. I hope I'm not moving too quickly. If I am, y'all please slow me down. But the next section here that we'll move on to is an overview of the menu items, the administrative features, and the roles in the portal. So I want to start by, we just took a look at the user admin screen to take a look at how to manage the portal users, whether they're fund holders or applicants or reviewers, etc. But how do we set up the site itself and how do we manage it? And a lot of the functions here are going to be in this site admin menu. Depending on what your portal skin looks like, you may have the same problem I have here, where the last item in the list is this investment options, but there are more items in this menu actually that we can't see. So I'm going to go ahead and just hold down my control key and use my mouse wheel button to scroll down and make the site not 100%, but a little bit smaller so that I can see all of the items here in this site admin screen. So a little pro tip there, if you can't see everything here, just hold down control and use your mouse wheel to zoom out in the portal so you can see all the available options. But there's a lot of things that you can do here in your portal administrator role here. We're not going to be able to cover everything in detail, but this is where we're going to spend most of our time today. So I want to start by talking here about the site admin menu items, just essentially going through what all these are, what they mean, and then jumping into a couple of them to sort of talk about what they are before we dive into some significant details on some of these. So at a high level, settings are where we do global settings. If you don't have any problems in your portal, I wouldn't recommend going in here. This is a great place where our staff, our support team, and our implementation teams here at Impact can go in and set things up. But these are where you set options like what is your, what are your email settings going to be? What are your report settings going to be? You don't necessarily need to go in and change those on a day-to-day basis. Roles and menus, we will definitely talk about in detail here in just a second, but this is where you set up what is the fund holder experience going to be from a menu perspective? What is the reviewer experience going to be from a menu perspective? What menu items are we going to turn on, turn off? How do we want to rename them, hide them, reorder them, etc.? Those are the sort of things that we set here in roles and menus. Terms and conditions, this is where we set the legal terms and conditions when you have a new user register on the portal. This is where you update that legal content that your fund holders or your portal users need to agree to. We definitely recommend reviewing that regularly with your legal team. And there's a really underutilized feature in this portal that I want to point out. You can come in here and edit the content here with this edit button. Once your attorneys tell you how this needs to look. But then check this little button out here. Reset the terms accepted status of all users. If you come in and you change your legal terms and you need for all of your portal users to accept these terms again, then you can do so by clicking this button. This will clear the flag that says none of your users have accepted the terms and conditions. I'm sure we're used to this, right? You log into a popular app or a popular site. Facebook says, hey, I've got all these new terms and conditions. eBay or Amazon says, you got to agree to these new conditions. Well, If you want to do this for your foundation, change your content and then clear it all out so that your fund holders and your applicants and your reviewers, et cetera, all have to come in and review their terms and conditions. You can click this button. It'll clear the flags of all of your web users to say that they have not yet accepted the terms and conditions. And what this will do is the next time a user logs in, they're going to have to review the terms and conditions and click a little button that says, I accept these terms and conditions. A very underutilized feature here in the portal that we strongly recommend you talk with your legal team about, and just decide on a way going forward. Do you want to do this every year, every 2 years, and update your terms and clear it out and make all of your web users accept the terms all over again? In fact, if you don't do terms and conditions at all, and your legal team tells you that you don't even have to bother with this, you can just turn it off completely with this top button here. When you register, this is required, true or false. This is required right now, and you can just go in and say, no, we're not going to require it, don't require, and then no one has to do terms and conditions. We don't recommend that at all. We recommend that you require terms and conditions and that you work with your legal team to set these. So that's terms and conditions. Configure emails. This is where you set your correspondence templates for the messages that are going to go out from Foundation Cloud grants to your portal users. So when a fund holder gets an email that says, thank you for submitting your grant recommendation, when a scholarship applicant receives an email that says, thank you for submitting your scholarship application, your reviewer emails, your reference emails for those folks, your I forgot my password email that goes out. All of those things can be configured here in this configure emails section. And then one of the things you can do too, that a lot of folks don't know, is that as you're looking at a particular email template, this is my grant. Let's see, let's go find one for a grant request. I've submitted a grant recommendation. Look at this field here, CC email addresses. Perhaps you have folks in your foundation who want to receive an email anytime a fund holder submits a grant request, right? You can CC any number of email addresses for folks at your organization to get a copy of the email that goes out to the philanthropist. So that a new grant recommendation has been submitted. This gets sent to Janet, at your organization or whatever. You can put in carbon copy email addresses here and get those sent in. If you're not sure your emails are going out, there's a great test function here where you can test the functionality and make sure that these emails are going where they're supposed to be. We would strongly recommend, of course, that you use your own email addresses here to test this. So these are the email configuration settings. Diagnostics is typically used by our staff. Reports are things that are set up for this particular administrator to run reports on the site. So if you have any reports deployed for site admins, they can be run from here. There is a bit of overlap here with the user administration. So we've got user sessions and user stats. We've also got within the site admin, we've got user sessions and user stats here as well. So overlapping functionality. Page settings we'll definitely dive into here in a few minutes and just talk about how we set up page settings for each of the individual pages for all of the roles here across the portal. There are tabs in certain pages that we may want to rename or hide or reorder. That can be done in tabs. Each of these roles has a landing page that has optional tiles. You can hide tiles, show tiles, set the default order for the tiles, relabel them, hide them, show them, etc., and set up what you want your initial experience for your applicants to be, or for your portal users to be as they log in. A lot of these are, sort of administrative settings. We're going to get into news feeds a little bit later. We've talked about manage users on the user admin. Again, that's a little bit of overlap. A file manager, this is where if you want files available for your portal users to download, you can upload those files here onto the portal and have them available for download. A couple different things you can do as you upload files. You can make some files available for all users of a given role. So maybe every fund holder should be able to download this instruction PDF or this report from last year that you've saved as a PDF for everyone to have available. Or maybe you have a specific file that should only be available to fund number 1234, right? Maybe that's last year's end of year fund statement. And so that file with a naming convention of 1, 2, 3, 4 in the file name could be uploaded, and then any portal user that has a relationship to that fund would get access to that file, but nobody else would, right? That's a security feature that we built in. So a couple different ways to upload files. Files for everyone or files just for a particular user or set of users can be administered here. And we've got knowledge base articles on how to set that up. We can do additional training with these things if we need to. But this is the screen where you upload your files. One of the great features here is that you can upload zipped files. Maybe you've got all of last year's fund statements for end of year as PDFs, and you've zipped them all up, and they all start with the fund number at the beginning. And you've worked with our staff to make sure that your naming convention is such that the fund number is at the very beginning of the file name or whatever. You can just upload the one zip file, and they can extract 2,000 documents from that zip file, put them in the folder, and then make them available just for the fund holders that are associated with these funds. So with one little function here, you can upload the 2,000 zipped files and make them available for everybody. So super easy to use once it's all set up properly. So a great feature there. And then finally, release notes. If you want to see what changed in a recent release of the portal, you can take a look here. Our most recent significant change in this environment here was 4 months ago, and these are all the changes that were made. Before that, it was this release, and it had all these changes, etc. So you can see all these things here from the release notes page, and you can search for particular features if you want to see what changed with, I don't know, GIFs. And you can just find the particular items for gifts and see when they changed. And you can see back in October, we made this gift related change, right? One final thing here I do want to talk to you all about as it relates to the menus and to the roles here, a very important feature. This is how to turn a portal role on or off. And so the way to do this is to go in here to site admin, roles and menus. And that is going to be here, this third option, roles and menus. And for a given role, you may want to turn it off. So maybe there are issues in your finance system, and you've got fund summaries in your portals and your portal pages where your fund holders can see summaries of balances in your fund. What were my income, my investment income returns? What were my gifts made last year, etc. And if those, if there's a problem in your finance system, if things are outdated, you want to temporarily turn things off. We do see this from time to time. The really easy way to do this is to go into any of these portals and just say, you know what, for now, I'm going to edit this role, and I'm going to say this particular role is offline. And temporarily, we're going to have this role turned off where folks can't see this. They can't log in and use this particular role, this fund holder role. Maybe you want to leave it on for all the other roles. But then once you do that, what you are going to want to do after the fact, my screen here is not behaving. Let me refresh this here. Well, my menu's locked. That's all right. I didn't turn it off, but what I will do here is I'm going to go into the page settings. And for this particular page, let's say we're going to take this fund holder portal offline. Then what I'll do here is I'm going to look for this donor offline role. And this may be for a different role. This may be called scholarship applicant offline or reviewer offline, etc. If you want to turn things off. You can set up an initial message that goes across the top with details. This is an HTML editor. We're sorry, this is temporarily unavailable at this time. If you need assistance, call us at this number, whatever. You can use the HTML editor to set that content. And then you can set a title for the page as well, just to say something like donor portal unavailable, etc. So there's page settings that are specific for this. When you set a role as being offline, you're going to want to make sure that you set your offline message and your page title to something that makes sense at the time for those settings. So, that was a high-level overview of the menu items for administering the roles. I think we should go ahead and dive into the page settings and the page styles in a bit more detail, but I am going to go ahead and come up for air here. Veronica and Amy, do we have questions that have popped up in chat or Q&A that we need to address?
There was a couple of them that Veronica has been able to answer, but one was really a good one about can you reply to a bounce back to have a bounce back email go to a different email address from the from address?
Hmm.
And Veronica answered that for Jennifer, and it currently is not an available function, but you can add verbiage within your email so that they know who to contact. And but that's a great idea to enter into our user voice platform for enhancements to our system.
It certainly is. Jennifer, we would definitely recommend you explore this in further detail and then add items to user voice as needed. Let's go take a look again at configure emails though, and say, for example, whenever we get a grant request submitted, it's going to come from whatever email address we've set up as our firm address. That's going to be in settings. Um, we can also send a test message here. You can send your CC addresses if you want folks at your foundation to get a copy of the email that goes out. Let's jump in real quickly to go to the settings page. This is a page we don't recommend you visit and mess with things. If things are okay, then don't go with playing with things here, unless you really know what you're doing and you're directed to do so by our support staff. But let's go to email settings. The from email account address is going to be this address. This is in our sandbox. And then this is the from email account name, right? You might want to do something like do not reply at myfoundation.org for your from address, and then do your from name, something like, you know, community foundation portal or something along those lines. But you can set your email address and your email name separately from each other. So I think your question here was, I'll go back and look here. Can reply to or bounce backs go to a different email than the from address? Short answer here is no. I do know that we can set up an email. You can send out an email from one particular user, and behind the scenes, if you do things right, you may be able to programmatically set a reply to email address that's different. And so if you're sending them from, something along, I don't know, portal services at myfoundation.org, but you want the replies to go back to services at myfoundation.org. That's something that programmatically we can set with SMTP. I don't know if we can do it in the new functionality we've rolled out with our SendGrid functionality. It may be possible, it may not, but it's certainly it's certainly not something we can do today without a change to the structure of our portal. But that sounds like a really good feature idea. I like that idea a lot. I'd recommend you do go out to user voice, see if there are any cases with this sort of thing already set up, and upvote them if you find them. And if you don't, just go ahead and create a new ticket for it. But really good idea. Right now, we're essentially limited to the from address and the from name being set here across the board for all emails coming from the portal, and then no separate reply to email address being set as we go out. So good question. Sorry for the negative answer there, but I think it's a good feature idea. So let's get our engineering team to see that as a priority.
Great.
You bet, Jennifer. Glad to help. Anything else?
That's it for now.
Good deal. So let's talk a little bit more about roles and menus. This is where we administer each of the roles. Out of the box, you've got, maybe a dozen or so roles. You've got your fund holder role. You've got your maybe a fund viewer role for read-only access for funds. Your scholarship applicant, your grant applicant for proposals, your reviewers, your board members, etc. Each of these roles you can administer here with, by going to edit role or edit menus, right? Edit menus is basically going to give you a list of all the menu items that are optional for a particular role. And so under your main fund holder role here, you can have any or all of these menu items. So you can tell we've got some of them active, some of them inactive in our portal. You can turn them on and off. You can reorder them. And so if we go edit one of these, this one has a sort order of 1. So it's going to be at the very top. Behind the scenes, it's got this identifier for the name of it, but if you want to call it something different, you can certainly label it something different in your menu. And we strongly recommend that you do these to whatever your organization's needs are. You may not call it a dashboard, you may not call it a donor form, you may call it my portal, or I don't know, something like that. So call it whatever you want. Make sure that these names are unique. Make sure the sort orders are sequential and what you want them to be. One good pro tip here is, as you're setting the sort orders, you may not just want to set them as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You may want to set them as 10, 20, 30, 40, 50. So that if you decide, you know what, this item that's 7 in the list here, I want to make it number 2 in the list. You don't want to have to go back through and reorder all the rest of them. You can just set it to 15 instead, right? Because you've got a 10, you've got a 20, and you want to put it in between. Just put it as 15 and put it right in the middle. It's a bit easier to manage if you do this in multiples of 5 or 10, so that you can move things around in order, leave spaces to move things if you need to. You will find a glitch that I'm sure I'm going to run into here as I close this. You'll notice it's spinning here, it's searching. I really don't have permission to do anything right now. I think this may be an issue that's specific to this portal because we have multiple brands set up, but in a minute here, this is going to lock us out. So it's super annoying. I'm going to go ahead and hit Control F5 and just reload the whole darn site because I don't want to wait. I don't want to exit. I just want it to behave, right? Lisa, great question. I was just about to answer that. Great minds think alike here. Some of our roles are automatically approved. Can we change this at Web Portal Roles? If so, how? First, you get the darn site to roll up, and if necessary, you can mute the line and swear a little bit, which I'm tempted to do at this moment. I'm just going to copy this URL and jump to a new tab and leave that one alone and just start over. That's annoying. So. Yep, there we go, Veronica. Those are the details I was just about to show. Glad those are in writing for folks to see. But if we go in here to site admin, we go to roles and menus. This is the screen where we just were looking at these roles. You can set the order. We were just looking at the edit menus, and this is basically where we set the labels and where we set the sort order for the menu items, right? Our board member portal has these 4 menu items active. There might be 7 or 8 optional, but only 4 of them are active. And the order that they're in is this, and the labels are here. But we can also edit the role itself. And so let's take a look here at editing the role. This is where we set that automatic approval, Lisa, that you were asking about, and lots of other things. So first of all, what are we going to call this role? Behind the scenes, we call it a donor. Logically speaking, it's not just a donor. It's a fund holder. It's a fund viewer. It's a philanthropist. It's a fund advisor. Call it what you will. Your organization is going to have possibly different nouns and verbs than we're used to. So you can call it whatever you like here. This is the name. You can give it a description. This description is shown in the registration page. I'll log out and jump out to the registration page and show you that in just a second. When someone registers to be a fund holder, first of all, can they register to be a fund holder? And that's right here. Is it available at sign up? True or false, right? If it is available at sign up, then what's the default status when someone says they want to be a fund holder? Is it pending or approved, right? Just out of the box, we recommend fund holders and perhaps competitive grant applicants should probably all be set to pending so that your foundation staff can go into the portal processing queue and approve or decline those as needed. We have, you bet, Lisa, glad to help. We also strongly recommend that if you do scholarship applications, you need to set this to approved. And the reason is if Jane or John, little Johnny registers and wants to apply for a scholarship application, you don't want to tell him or her to wait until one of your staff members can log in and approve it. These are high school students. They're going to be doing this at midnight. You're not going to be approving this till the next day, right? Shouldn't Johnny be able to start his scholarship application tonight? And so we strongly recommend that for scholarship applications, you set this to approved so that they're immediately approved and they can see all the available applications and even start and submit their applications. For anything that you need to have your eyes on before you approve portal access, you should definitely make it pending and have your staff do this in the portal processing queue. So When someone logs in and they have this role, what is their default page going to be? Do they want to go to the donor homepage, or maybe a fund request page, or maybe a reports, whatever? You can choose what page they go to when they land. This defaults to the role homepage, but you can change that if you need to. Does this particular role require an organization relationship? This should definitely be true for your standard grant applications, your proposal applicants, right? Someone from the YMCA is going to log in and apply for a grant on behalf of the YMCA. That individual needs to be associated with their organization, right? Johnny filling out an application for a scholarship doesn't need to be associated with an org. Your fund holders probably don't need to be associated with an org, right? So this will essentially change the way that the registration page behaves. You can also choose whether or not the contact information is shown in their My Accounts page. Whether this particular role is selected by default. When you go to the registration page, who do you think folks are going to be registering? What roles are they going to be registering for? Is it generally speaking going to be a fund holder? Probably not. Maybe a scholarship applicant, maybe a grant applicant. So some of those roles ought to be selected by default on that registration page. Of course, every applicant can check and uncheck what they need to. But that's how you set those things on the registration page by default. Does this role have a news feed? This isn't necessarily whether or not the news feed is shown on the landing page. It's just whether behind the scenes we set that up or not. When a particular user goes to their My Account page, are they going to see this role as one of the ones they can select? And this is similar to available at sign up, but this is basically available after sign up on their profile, right? And then again, we talked about this before, but this is how you turn a particular portal online or offline. All the details here, you can click on this little help button. Our engineering team has just put together some really solid help content that explains a lot of these things in detail. So this help content across the board in the portal is really, really helpful. So we definitely recommend going in there. And speaking of help content, I think that's the next item we're going to go through here. This is the fourth bullet point that we were going through, was how do I customize my help content in the portal? And so under site admin, my role here is locked up. I'm going to go in one more time. I'm so sorry, folks. Our demo environment is not in great shape at the moment. We'll come in here to the user admin. To the site admin, and we're going to go to help topics. And so under help topics, we are going to see, use the drop-down list here to select a help topic. This is what we're showing to our portal users. So maybe what do we want our fund holders to see as they're making a grant request or as they're looking at their grant history, right? Let's look at the grant request help content. And when you're on the, the fund holder portal and you're looking at the grant request screen, there's this little green help slider. And this is the content that is going to be shown to your users. Out of the box, you're going to have our default help content. And this is just our boilerplate text that we put out there. It's entirely possible. In fact, it's likely that for your organization, perhaps you've chosen not to implement recurring payments at all, right? You only want your fund holders to make one-time payments. You might want to come in and just delete this whole bit here completely for the recurring payments so that your fund holders don't see this particular help content. Easy way to do it is just to go customize the help content. You can, by default, this just loads all the help content that's in our boilerplate content and lets you come in and start overriding it. So maybe in your custom help content, we just don't want this recurring payment information, so we can go in and delete that. If you want to just start from what we have out of the box, our boilerplate help content, you can click here, it'll load in what we have out of the box, and then you can use this as a starting point and then go in and delete. We're not going to ask them for recurring payments or what the frequency of their payments is because we're only asking for one-time payments. So you do this, you save it, and then your help content that your fund holders see has dynamically changed here, right? So you can add, remove, work with any of the content for any of the pages that your public stakeholders log in and see. So very powerful feature here. And again, this help topics screen is available under site admin help topics right here. And then as we're talking about customizing what these folks see, I'm going to go ahead and jump over to page settings. Most of you are probably familiar with page settings if you've ever had to edit what your public users see. But in case you're not, I'm going to jump over to, let's take a look at our fund holder page settings. And let's take a look at the donor home, right? So when we log into the portal, we're going to land on this donor home page. What are the, what's the help content at the very top going to be, right? There should be a setting here for introduction, and you'll see the data type for this setting is an HTML data type. Let's open this guy up and see what we get. This is welcome fund holder, blah, blah, blah. You might want to put a picture in here. You might want to put a link to something on your website from here. You might want to put a link to something in your portal from here. You can do this, all of this and more here in this HTML editor. One of the powerful features you've got here, these are links. Let's go in and see what these link options are. You can insert an FAQ link if you've got one of the FAQ pages. You can insert a link to those. Maybe you want to show your fund holders, you know, what are the, you know, click here to view the FAQs, right? And that would just drop in a link here to the donor FAQs. I could go ahead and delete that for now. What else could we put in? That's an FAQ. That's not what I wanted to do. Let's see. You can select a report from the list. Again, remember each of your portal users has a list of reports that are available in Foundation Cloud Grants. I'll jump over and show that in just a second. But as a fund holder, maybe I want to show this fund statement report and provide a link to it at the top. It just says something like, click here to view your fund statement. And this will actually be a link. And if I save this, that's on our landing page for fund holders. And then if I come to fund holders and go to the dashboard, look at this, click here to view your fund statement. And if I'm hovering over this, if you look at the very bottom left, at the very bottom, across the bottom of my browser here, you can see this is going to go out to our portal and show us where this link is to get to this fund statement. So lots of power that you can utilize here as you edit the content here. You can add links, you can change the content for pretty much all the landing pages and then each of the individual pages, right? I have a fund holder grant history. Maybe I want to edit this help content up here. That's also a page setting. So lots of things you can do here to edit the content for the things that your folks see as they log in. I do recognize we've only got 15 minutes left here, so I want to make sure we cover all that we want to. I'm going to real quickly talk about publishing reports. I'm going to jump back over here to Foundation Cloud Grants and take a look at here's our classic paginated reports. These are all the SSRS reports. I've got this list. I've already searched for fund statement, and so this is pre-filtered here. I'm going to go ahead and open up, edit this particular fund statement report, and you'll notice this fund statement report is flagged as a web report, which means in the portal, this is going to be available to folks in the portal. Which types of users in the portal can see this? Maybe this is fund viewers, maybe this is fund holders, etc. And then for this particular report, we definitely want to pass in a constituent ID parameter. Every Foundation Cloud every Foundation Cloud Community Portal user has a constituent ID associated with their user account. And if I log in with my account, I want to run this report and behind the scenes pass in my user ID parameters so that I only see fund statements that are relevant to my the funds that I've got a relationship to, right? Maybe I've got access to 3 funds. I shouldn't see all the funds in this fund statement report. So this is how I flag that to pass it in. Whenever we're going to show this report in the portal, we'll show it built into the screen with this width and this height. This is where this can be changed on this screen. And if you've got to publish a report for multiple roles, maybe you have a fund statement you want for a fund viewer and for a fund advisor, for a fund admin perhaps, essentially what you'll need to do is register the same report multiple times for different roles and set up those same parameter values as relevant for each of those roles. So that's report registration. I'm jumping over here to the chat. I see a question from Jennifer. I'm going to be jumping ahead to the Foundation contact tile. Can you have a different person show based on a fund holder's assigned contact, or can only one person be shown for everyone? Great question, Jennifer. When I go to, let's jump back to the portal and go to the fund holder landing page. there should be a tile here that says this is my foundation contact. If you're using Razor's Edge, Jennifer, I don't know what CRM system your foundation is using. If you're using Razor's Edge, every fund record in RE has a field on there in Razor's Edge that Blackbaud refers to as a solicitor, right? Who's the solicitor for my fund? Maybe you've got one staff member who handles all the DAFs. Maybe you have another staff member who handles the endowed funds, etc. And so within Razor's Edge, you can set each fund to say, I've got this solicitor or that solicitor as my contact. And so once those are set up in Razor's Edge, we sync those into Foundation Cloud Grants with our overnight syncs. And then this tile can be set up to dynamically show, okay, I've logged in the Armstrong Fund, my contact, my solicitor, if you will, at the foundation is Carly Meek. But when Veronica logs in, maybe her foundation contact solicitor is somebody different. She's going to see different contact person here. So that is all managed in the solicitor field for a given fund in your CRM system. 12 minutes to go here. Any additional questions here in Q&A, Veronica, that we need to address? Or should we jump on to looking at some of these underutilized features? I want to show off some cool stuff that folks might not be aware of.
Yeah, I think you can go ahead, Jeff.
Good deal. All right, Rochelle asks, can there be more than one solicitor, such as one for general questions, one for tech questions? Your CRM system might let you set up multiple solicitors. I don't know off the top of my head. In fact, Veronica, you might be better poised to answer this one than me. I do know that here in the portal, we're only surfacing one solicitor that we have here in the foundation contact tile. And so I believe we might be able to add additional detail here in foundation contact. Let's go look at page settings. Let's go explore and figure it out right now, Veronica. If you know the answer here, feel free to chime in, but let's go take a look at, for a fund holder, I think we're going to be looking at the landing page, the home page, donor home. Contact style, giving opportunity. Here's some document style. Let me look at the question again here, Rochelle. Could there be more than one solicitor? One for general, one for tech. If you are not using the solicitor concept in Razor's Edge to drive this, then essentially you can customize that tile with its own HTML content that doesn't look at the solicitor field. So maybe across the board you can say, here is your, maybe here's a fund, a donor services team member, or your donor services manager who can answer your donor related questions, or here's your tech contact for portal related questions. And you could just edit the content of the tile itself and put that data in rather than leaning on the solicitor functionality within Razor's Edge. That might be the best way to approach it. I do want to talk about this prospective grant holder. You bet, Rochelle. I do want to talk about this prospective grant holder function. So if we go into site admin and we take a look at roles and menus again, here in roles and menus, we've got all these out-of-the-box roles. As some of you probably know, you can create your own roles here that are basically sub-roles of a couple of our standard roles. So you can make your own sort of board member, your own sort of donor. This is the one that's most commonly used, a donor. And maybe you want a special type of donor that doesn't have all this all these permissions. You want one for your standard fund holders or for your administrative fund holders, but maybe you want a fund holder role for just your fund advisors where things are read-only and they can't change things, or they can't make online donations or whatever, right? One of the things that we've seen a few foundations do, which we think is a fantastic idea, and in fact, our sales team did this to begin with, but we've had folks set up a new role type that's a copy of their fund holder, their donor role, which basically just has fund request features and nothing else, right? And so this is something that is used often for a prospective fund holder. And so when someone logs into the portal and perhaps they want to be a fund holder and they want to create a new fund, but they don't have a fund yet, maybe you want to let them see the fund holder portal, but not have access to any funds because they don't have any funds yet. You could set it up for automatically approving their role, and then they could come in and see basically a fund holder role without a lot of the features because they don't yet have funds. But from within this role, obviously you can turn things on and off, but maybe it's welcome future fund holders. Maybe you've got links to documentation about what it means to be a fund holder with your foundation. Maybe you've got links to legal agreements. Um, Maybe you've got reports that you could show them, etc. But of course, one of the powerful features here for your future fund holders, you may want to let them create a new fund request. And I want to start a new fund. I just won the lottery and I want to set up the new Jeff Armstrong family DAF or whatever, right? And so I can say, this is the name of my fund. The advisors are going to be me and my partner. A financial advisor, maybe I want my financial advisor to come in and do investment management, but nothing else, right? I can set up my succession plan. When I take my last breath on earth, do I want my fund to go to my kids? Do I want all the assets to be divested to a bunch of beneficiaries rather than successors, etc.? So you can set this up for new fund holders to give them a place to learn more about your foundation, about what it would mean to be a fund holder, and to start a new fund holder application. So we recommend you explore this option, take a look at what this could do for you. When you first set it up, make sure it's not available for new registrants until you're actually ready to go live with it. Your site admin and turning the portal on for public access. You could set that up for your fund holders to log in. We just think that's a really cool feature. Great way for you to publish some of that information in more detail and give folks a way to actually start a new application. Maybe make a donation online. I want to start a new fund. Here's my initial, ACH transaction. Click this button to pay my starting $10,000 minimum transaction to set up a new fund with you guys, etc. So great way to expand on what you've got in your site already, most likely your foundation website for setting up new fund holders. This is a great way to get them engaged with the portal, get them a portal account, and even give them a place to start their own application. We think that's a really cool feature that's underutilized here. So any other questions? We've only got 5 minutes left. I do want to give you all some time back, make sure that we've got time for all the questions that have been asked. Veronica, I see you're answering Rochelle's questions. Thank you so much for being on this call with us. I've got plenty more I could talk about, but I want to make time for what you guys see as important. So let me pull over here in the chat and see where we are.
Great. I think we're all caught up.
If you've got questions about any of these portal options, if you think you may need to engage with our consulting implementation teams to set up a new portal role for you, or if you just need some general consulting and advice on how to change how your portal is, again, hopefully this is a good reference for you. Our support team can handle, basic setup and whatnot, troubleshooting. If you want a whole new role, if you want to do, French language alternate site or that sort of thing, let Amy Strom know. Amy can set you up with a change order and some time with our consulting team if you need to do a paid engagement with us. But we'd be excited to have you grow the way you're using your portal to impact, all of your stakeholders.
Yes, perfect. Thanks, Jeff.
You bet.
And please mark your calendar for our next Let's Talk Solutions. Can you see my screen, Jeff?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, good. July 17th will be our next one. And then I did put on here, there's our contact information, both mine and Jeff's. If you need us, you can reach Veronica through our support portal by entering a support ticket. But if you need us or have additional questions, or if you have new topics you'd like us to cover, please reach out and let us know. And that's it. Please mark your calendar for July 17th, and we'll see you all soon. Thanks for joining us today.